It's that time of year that all of us planners know and love. It is time to move into our New Year's journals. I am using my Leuchtturm 1917 A5 dot grid. You can use whatever works for you. I will be doing a walkthrough bit by bit of all of the different spreads that I've put in before I have filled them out. If you're new here, my name is Catherine and welcome to Focus and Flow. This is a place for planning and bullet journal inspiration. I'm getting started here with a little bookmark that I made in a cute little pocket. At the time of filming, I didn't know what I was going to use this for, but I ended up putting meal planning on it. And moving over into my word of the year, which was align, I drew this little illustration here to kind of show how I wanted to feel and how I am feeling actually going into the year. So take that as you will, 2025. I am not fooling around. As you know, many journals have a table of contents at the beginning, so I went ahead and filled mine out for all of my different collections. Honestly, I don't use this a whole lot except for when I'm referencing a journal from a past year, but here it is regardless. On my next page, I just put a little quote over here from one of my favorite reads from last year, and I think I'm probably going to be putting some kind of photo or other image on this page at some point. I just don't know what that is yet, so we'll see. It's room to grow. I like to leave a little bit of blank space so that I can add in as I move through the year so it doesn't feel too stuck. A very, very important part of the bullet journal system is to have your future log or your year at a glance, whatever you want to call it. This is usually what it looks like, which is just a calendar. I have a little bit of space for each month so I can see at a glance what might be going on in a different month or a different portion of the year, so I can reference that as I go. These next pages I have dedicated to a Wheel of the Year and Happy Birthday spreads. I did do a separate video on these, but suffice to say that this is what keeps me on track when it comes to holidays, seasonal events, as well as birthdays and other personal items. It's really handy to just keep ahead of everything and to be on track as these dates come up. My next spread is a level 10 life. This is my self-assessment tool, which I use on a monthly basis. You can see I have each month laid out here, which I will be referencing the following page as I fill them out. On the following page, I have my criteria or my categories, you could say, where I have all of my different life areas that I'm keeping track of, such as relationships, personal growth, health, etc. I go bit by bit and I fill this out in accordance with my satisfaction, 10 being the highest rating I could get, and then I migrate into my months, what has scored the lowest. The sister page here I have as my quarterly goals. I like to split these into quarters because it just seems a little bit more manageable. I will be filling this out as I move through the year. I would say this is one of the most central pages to my bullet journal. I have never gone without a page like this. Next up, I have a launch pad. This I have broken down into different time intervals such as annual, monthly, weekly, daily, etc. I've actually broken this down further now that I've filled it out, but this is a space for me to work through those things that are reoccurring that I want to make sure that I hit on a routine basis. Super, super helpful to manage household chores, to manage health items, self-care, and everything in between. The monthly challenge is a new spread to me. It is a way for me to bring in a couple of opportunities when it comes to adding some new routines or just things to bring into my life. For instance, in January, I'm working on my morning routine. This is nothing that I'm being very strict about or tracking. It's just something that I'm kind of playing with to see how it works and how I might be able to make the best of it. I do complete a annual tarot reading, so this is my place to record those notes and to be able to reference those insights throughout the year. It is usually really interesting to look back on. Now I have a little space for my miracle morning. I've got my typical acronym of SAVERS, if you know, you know, and some notes that I just might want to reference as I'm taking my morning practice. I also have some space to work with holiday and PTO tracking over here. This is just a small space that I can use to have an overview of those PTOs. On the following spread, I'm able to get a little bit more focused and granular with the planning. This is more in relation to particular days like anniversaries or birthdays. I also make sure I have a little space where I'm able to note ideas for the coming year. I like to use this as a place to keep a record when it comes to ideas for these particular days, so when they come closer, I'm able to reference them and plan accordingly. My next spread is dedicated to wealth management. I make sure that I have a space for a beginning and end number notation, so I'm able to quickly compare what has actually happened throughout the year as far as my various accounts. I also have space to note down my goals and some other room to work. I have a money management timeline, so I can note the dates and what has happened, such as transfers, etc. So I'm just able to have it at a glance throughout the year. I have more space here when it comes to a timeline. This is regarding my business. I also have space for goals and some other thinking rooms, so I'll just be able to use that during the year. The next couple of pages are very, very useful if you maybe have a certain amount of clients or projects that you're working towards. However, you don't quite have enough that you want to devote a separate notebook to. I've created these grids so that I can keep track of my clients in my business and the money in, money out. Now we're moving into the health maintenance portion of the journal, which I have notated the different items that I want to be sure I complete throughout the year. I also have a section for my weight management, and again, I have another timeline here. This is just so that, for instance, I can make sure that I'm aware that I completed labs in January or that I completed a mammogram in February, etc. Now we have the capsule wardrobe. My first quarter capsule I already have filled out and ready to go with the different categories. I'll just be able to migrate those over to the other quarters as I need. If you're familiar at all with the capsule wardrobe system, you know just how brilliant it is, but it does take a little bit of time and energy on a regular basis to keep up with. So I went ahead and built in these areas for me to be able to work on them quickly and easily, and hopefully I won't be putting them off like I sometimes do. Now we're coming to one of my favorite sections. This is for reading. I have, again, a little timeline set up here so I can just keep a log of the books that I completed during the course of the year. I added a little quote there just for funsies. But in the next section, I'm going to have my TBRs, which I decided I would do on a quarterly basis. Following my capsules and my goals, I think quarterly breakdowns are probably the smartest thing to do. So this isn't a strict TBR. This is just things that I would like to read at the different times of the year. I have my book bingo page. I did make a video on this as well. This is a fun way for me to incentivize myself to maybe try some different things, get out of my comfort zone, and just mix it up a little bit if I'm feeling slumpy. I decided I would make a formal section, this journal, for my quotes and notes on books. I do have a separate learning notebook, but this is just for the small bits and pieces that I collect as I travel through various reads. We're now reaching the end of my collections. I have Trips, which is located, of course, for travels and other larger things that I need to be planning. I have a little space for some possible destinations and then a whole lot of pages to work out the details. I have a very similar section devoted to mind maps. I am going to use this when it comes to just something I need to think through or just kind of get out of my head and on paper. Again, multiple pages here for that purpose. I wanted to take a second and point out the different colors that I have coded with washi on the different sections here. So I'll be able to reference at a glance if I need something that is more granular or something that is more conceptual. I can just take a look in my notebook and have a concept of where that page might lie for me to grab it real quick. Again, I don't really use the table of contents. I probably should. So we've reached the end of my collections. I have made sure to reserve several pages here at the end because you just never know as the year progresses what kind of things that you might need that you just didn't foresee having. Maybe I want to try some kind of exciting new spread. Who knows? Now we're landing here at January. I only have this in pencil so far because at time of filming I have not put in my first month yet. So the rest of these pages are devoted entirely to monthlies and weeklies, as well as whatever time-bound pages I'm going to need as I move throughout the year. I find that it's most helpful to have the bullet journal separate from the collection section just to keep things nice and neat. And with that, we're ready to begin the year. So that is my 2025 flip through unfilled out. If you have any pressing opinions or questions, do let me know in the comments, and do please subscribe so you can see when I have a new upload. I'll be bringing some more videos up soon. Happy New Year, and I will see you next time.